We are bitcoinmagazine.nl, live from Bitcoin Amsterdam 2025, presented by Treasury, literally right outside of Amsterdam at the Sugar Factory. And this is day 2. Day 1 was spectacular. The amount of people, and I got it confirmed, we have almost doubled the amount of people who were here last year have been here this year for this event. Every room is full. Every side panel was well attended. Every speaker has been saying that this was one of the best events in Europe for this year, 2025. And we don't really have more events this year. So Bitcoin Amsterdam has pulled all the stops. And obviously, and it's becoming a staple of every event we do, we got to sit down with Adam. He was one of the first people I got to interview back when we were using still a phone to do interviews. And he's been with us for over 2 years. We see him, we approach him, he sits down and he gives us an in-depth update of what's going on in the market right now. So you know what to do. Share this video, like this video, and help us keep promoting and pushing forward our ecosystem. Adam, thank you for always being ready to sit down, always being ready to talk to us. And right off the bat, I want to talk to you about last month. We had a correction. And I remember you and me, we talked in Hong Kong, and you told me that every time the price goes down 1 or 2%, people go crazy, but that's nothing to go crazy about. The correction we had last month, though, is that something that you thought, hey, this was necessary for the price of Bitcoin?
Well, there's a lot of leverage in the Bitcoin system, so it tends to be susceptible to short-term corrections because the excessive leverage is prone to liquidation cascades. And sometimes you see correlation from Wall Street, if the stock indexes are down or macro events or tariff news from the US, all kinds of random things. So I think, the long-term trend for Bitcoin, if you zoom out, is generally being very positive over the long term. And also, it's quite normal in a bull market to see multiple corrections. So in prior bull markets and previous halving periods, there were, a dozen corrections of about 30% or more. And in this period, we've had actually smaller corrections and less of them. So if anything, the volatility is reduced. The current drop is not that big in terms of percentages compared to previous periods. So we'll see, how it progresses. But Bitcoin will do the Bitcoin things.
But exactly. Now, a few people have sat here today already, and the price is at 95. Some people said, I'm not going to worry until it hits 60. And my reaction was, do you think it's going to hit 60 in this week? I was like, it might hit 60 today. And then we talked to other people, and they're like, no, it's going to bounce and go up. From your perspective, what are you expecting to happen for the next 48 hours?
Well, I mean, it's always hard to predict with Bitcoin. And, the weekends can be a bit less liquid than during the week, but it does seem that the recent periods below 100,000 have been quite short-lived. And there's been people buying up the Bitcoin on exchange are shrinking, which suggests that, the buyers are taking the Bitcoin off exchange. That tends to mean longer term storage or ETF buying or treasury company buying. So eventually the Bitcoin on exchange starts to create scarcity, which, ultimately can create a price pressure of its own.
Yeah. Now, that's a good point. And from our perspective, the more Bitcoin goes off chain, how does Bitcoin survive all of these institutions buying it, privatizing it, and remaining resilient?
Well, I mean, I think that you could expect that as Bitcoin, the asset class, grows, it reaches a wider audience. So the ETFs themselves are about 2/3 owned by individuals, about 1/3 by institutions, evidently. And I think that means for the individuals buying through the ETFs, it's just an easier way for them to access Bitcoin. So, of course, they don't have their own keys, so they have a kind of proxy ownership. But of the methods available to buy Bitcoin using an intermediary or, a financial product, the ETFs are quite low risk. They have independent custodians. They have audits. They're operated by very solvent, large financial firms. So I think that, you know, that is just a natural progression. And also for companies and funds, it's a similar kind of thing. I mean, a company is just a collection of people. And so if it's attractive for the individual to buy Bitcoin, then it could be attractive for companies too, to hedge their inflation risk by putting some of their cash reserves in Bitcoin. And that was the logic that Strategy used when they first got in Bitcoin some years ago now. And I think it makes sense. So for the long term, I would expect to see many companies using Bitcoin as a hedge.
Very good. We sat down yesterday with Mikhail from the OPA and Ben Cohen, and they both agreed that the 4-year cycle that we keep seeing is not really a 4-year cycle. It's pure speculative and pure coincidental that it keeps happening every 4 years. Because of that, should we expect next year not to follow the patterns that we're used to?
That's the question at the moment, whether it's different this time. And I think it does look a bit different because the types of buyers are different. And so the ETF buyers statistically have proven to be longer term investors. Typically, the people that are selling on price pullbacks are short term investors, speculators, in other words. So it's interesting to see the emergence of new investors that are long term investors. Sometimes people, when they first get into Bitcoin, it takes them a while to learn to, take a long term view, to zoom out, to buy and hold, dollar cost average. So I think that is helping. And also, you're seeing more different types of people. I think typically somebody buying an ETF would not be, looking to day trade it, right? It's more like a stock portfolio kind of investment. Typically, the money is probably going to be coming from reallocation from other things in their portfolio, let's say gold ETF or other shares. So that may be having an impact on the cycle because you've got these different investors. The treasury companies themselves tend to buy and hold. They've got a mandate. They don't typically want to sell Bitcoin. And some of the institutions are also longer term kind of investors typically, right? So I think those things impact the price regime. So we'll see if it holds. Of course, there's also kind of expectation. So people expect something to happen. They partly help it happen.
Yeah.
But if all that happens is the price dips and some of these new buyers, they may be patient and just buying over time, they may just fill it in and take the coins off the market.
Yeah. You said something earlier very interesting. The corrections that we've been having were very small, and they keep becoming smaller and smaller. Now, one of the central themes of the Congress here, Bitcoin Amsterdam, was Bitcoin treasuries, the accumulation of Bitcoin. Do you see the accumulation of Bitcoin having an impact on all of these different corrections coming up next year?
I mean, I think it does because it's another example of a good investor as a group, on average. So, the ETF buyers, the pension funds, the mutual funds, the sovereign wealth funds, the Bitcoin ETF buyers, whether they are individuals or institutions, are proving to be longer term value investors. And that is supportive of the price generally, right? They're reducing the supply. You're taking Bitcoins off the market, which enhances scarcity. The entities like the BlackRock ETF, which represents many investors, bought over 2 times the mined coins per day since the halving. MicroStrategy bought another 2 times. That's a lot of net buying. So, the people that are selling appear to be, you see in the media people talking about OGs or long-term holders.
Yeah.
But actually, when they say long-term holders, they're talking about 155 days, which is actually like a short-term speculator to most people's perspective, right? So I think the actual long-term holder redistribution is much smaller contribution. And ultimately, Bitcoin is a cash asset. So people can only sell once, right? And when they finish selling or they have sold as much as they want to sell, then you get scarcity coming back into the picture, right? Because the net buying is quite high compared to the newly mined coins.
Very good. For next year, what's a project that you're looking forward to?
With Blockstream, we have a lot of new technology coming to the market. So we released Simplicity on Liquids, which is a Bitcoin layer 2. And Simplicity is a smart contracting, but very security and safety focused, formal provability, smart contracting for Bitcoin originally. So we brought it to live on Liquid first so that people can try out. That was in July this year. And so over time, as people get experience with that, there may be long-term interest to add that even to Bitcoin itself if there's consensus for it. I think that may be one of the best opportunities to ossify Bitcoin, because if you look at the early days of Bitcoin, in some of the forums, Satoshi had commented that he rushed the Bitcoin script system so that he didn't use the word ossify, but words to the same effect that said that Bitcoin could be frozen for all time so that everything else could be built on top of it in other use cases and layer twos. And so I think Simplicity has the characteristics to potentially serve that function because it's lower level. It gives you self-extensibilities so that people can implement new things on top of it.
Very good. That's very good. We're going to do a deep dive in that. I'm going to add it to the article as well. All right. We've been sitting here for 2 days now, talking with the most interesting people, the people who are actually pushing our ecosystem forward. And Adam just laid it on us. Simplicity, something that we're going to actually have to jump into, study it, and make sure that we bring it to our people. Your forecast for 2026, bullish, bearish?
Well, I'm generally a permabull, so always bullish.
Always bullish.
Yeah, so I mean that, and I think that is, in a sense that the average person outside of Bitcoin, the pre-coiners, don't understand Bitcoin. They don't understand inflation. And I think, once more people do understand Bitcoin and once the recommended portfolio allocations by BlackRock, by Morgan Stanley for general asset managed funds to invest, 1, 2, 3, 4%, depending on the entity, what they've recommended. Once those get adopted, that also impacts and gives confidence to other people because, different people, as new technology comes to market, it takes a long time for people to adapt and to learn and to get confidence. And frankly, a lot of the confidence comes from the reception from other people they trust. And so different people trust different, different entities, their friends, their financial advisor, the closest financial companies for different things. And so I think, over time, we're just seeing Bitcoin adoption grow based on confidence. And I think it's an interesting thing. Most technology undergoes an adoption curve. And so you see that with mobile phones, with the internet, but you only need, 1 or 2 mobile phones. You only need 1 internet connection. Whereas with Bitcoin, people get confidence and they buy more Bitcoin. So you have kind of, the repeat adoption by the existing adopters plus new people coming in. So it has potential to grow more rapidly in places. So we'll see if that happens. The diminishing return theory is that Bitcoin adoption slows each cycle. But, there could be a time where you get some accelerating return, where you get more of a mass adoption effect, more people get confidence, and it's, integrated and made part of more managed funds.
That's awesome. So the key takeaway from this interview is very simple. Always be bullish. It will help with the confidence, and confidence will bring in more people into our ecosystem. Adam, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to sit down and talk with you. I call it my masterclass. I go to these events, I sit down with you, and I leave smarter. And I hope all of you as well recognize how smart talking to Adam Beck will make you. You know what to do. Share this video, like this video. We are Bitcoin Magazine NL from Bitcoin Amsterdam 2025, presented by Treasury. And we will keep bringing you content to make you smarter, make you more confident, and help you adopt Bitcoin. See you all soon.